Laurie Black, welcome to CHASM Converses.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
That's right. It's so awesome to have you here. So great to meet you as well. This is the first time that I've actually, obviously crossed paths with you, which is so cool. And you're joining me from London, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. I was living down in Brighton for a while, so lots of people still have me classed as being like Brighton based.
Yeah.
But I'm back in London for the first time in a while. I feel like I'm still kind of reintroducing myself back into the scene, but it's quite nice. It's like some stuff's different and some stuff is the same as it always was and always will be.
Yeah, that's so cool. I literally was in Brighton last week. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we said because I was just leaving as you were arriving.
Yeah.
And I was down there. I think you probably arrived just after all the storms happened as well. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I did. I got there the morning that I woke up at hostel. There was just like the most torrential storm, and you walked outside, and the waves outside were just like going absolutely crazy. But
yeah,
it was so cool, man. Yeah, it was my first time being back in Brighton for like 5 years, so it was so cool just to kind of. I only had a day there because I went up for Lewis Bonfire.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy. But it was just nice to go up to Brighton and just sort of see little bits and pieces that I hadn't seen for a while. I went to the tattoo shop where I got my tattoo there when I was last in the UK, which was kind of nice. And I found it just on like happenstance. I'm like, wait, I know this area.
I know where I am.
The tattoo shop is right there. It's like, no, it's right there. That's awesome.
Oh my God, so fun. Did you get another one?
I wanted to. I really did, but it just wasn't enough time. It wasn't. I literally had an idea and I had a design as well, but I just didn't really have the time to be able to like line it up, sadly. But I mean, there's always more time to do that. Have you like lived in London previously, obviously, before you went to Brighton?
Yeah, so I'm from London, and then I spent all my kind of uni years living in like central-ish London.
Oh, right where the action is.
Yeah, it was like it was great and hard at the same time. And then I think kind of after I finished uni, I got into, performing more like tours. And that's when I first went out to Australia as well. And then I kind of just became kind of pretty nomadic. I did a couple seasons where I'd like go away and kind of sublet my flat. And apparently my flatmates in London were really annoyed because I kept subletting like crazy people. But also like it was so much extra effort. So eventually I was like, actually, I don't need to pay rent anywhere. I'm just going to chuck my stuff in storage and off I go. So
that is such a good idea. I've quite literally been like trying to figure out a way to kind of do something similar to that as well, because I would love to have like a place, because I'm not currently in my own place, but I would love to have a place in London that I could then like, sublet to somebody else that I could then, still like, make the money up and pay the rent, whatever, while I'm away doing other things. It just makes it so much more it makes so much more sense and just seems so much more practical, surely.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a friend, I'm really jealous of her actually. She owns a 1-bedroom flat in Edinburgh. And she works in lighting, and off she goes to wherever. And then because she's just, she just gets her mates in for cheap. And it's not even like you have to deal with strangers or anything. And she owns the flat and like just like living the dream. I want that.
Yeah, sick. I feel like I feel like on our own terms, I feel like we'll both get there eventually. You're definitely much closer than me, but I feel like we can both get there in that kind of aspect.
I feel like I might just need to like buy a van or something to live in.
Yeah.
Which is awkward because I don't drive. So just live in it and stay in one place.
I literally had a friend of mine the other day. It's like I asked her what she wanted to do, like, if she could do anything or whatever. And her answer was literally the same sort of thing. Like, I'd like to buy a van and just drive around and whatever. Yeah. And it's kind of like, you don't drive. Like,
but it seems like the dream. I don't know. Maybe it's like that kind of like as an outsider, you see someone doing it and you're like, that looks so good. But I imagine it's probably like a lot of effort if that is your life. Like, where do you shower and crazy stuff? And it's not, it's not a warm place to be doing it in the UK.
No, exactly not. So it's like you need heating in that damn thing, or like just blankets upon blankets. It's for like when it gets just freezing cold. I have a few friends who do this similar sort of thing in Australia. Like I have a friend who literally like bought like a bus or like a small bus and made it up. Another friend who bought a van, who is currently now actually doing this. Like she's actually like traveling around Australia in this van. And I mean, she's younger than me and she's living the dream. So I'm like, my goodness, this is like Well done. Well done to you.
Although, so earlier this year I was in Melbourne for the comedy festival, and I ended up staying with some friends. I stayed in a caravan in their garden.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, I was like, I don't know, I'm not like super outdoorsy. I think this is going to be hard, but also like cheap accommodation in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Quite hard to find.
Yes.
And actually, I loved living in a caravan.
Really?
I really shocked myself. Yeah. But it was getting cold. It was like April. So it's kind of, it was starting to get cold, and I had to like, get the blankets out and stuff. But otherwise, it was pretty good.
That's so cool. I mean, like, sometimes it takes you a little bit to sort of like, you know, see if you can work in that environment. Like, I've never really been one for like camping and that sort of thing. But then like, I can deal with it for like maybe, you know, I can do like I realized this year that I can do a 4-day festival camping. But after that, I can't do any more days than 4. 4 days is enough.
Yeah, I think 4 is probably the max I've done. I was always like, so I've got Scottish heritage. And so when I was a kid, we used to go camping in Scotland, and it was
oh my goodness,
the worst. It was horrible.
Oh, really?
I hated it. Yeah,
it was like a completely different thing of what I thought it was going to be.
Horrible. And like, I was always like, I'll never go camping again. And then as soon as like, I don't know, Download Festival and all of these like cool festivals, I could go to those and watch bands and stuff. I was like, right, where's the camping stuff? Off we go.
Yeah. All that stuff.
If it's for a good purpose, I'm up for it. But 100%. just in the like in Scotland, it's so cold, and there's like the midges, the little like mosquito-y things everywhere. Just no good.
Yeah, those things, like they're around. Are they there around London too? Aren't they? Those like long, skinny spider flying things.
What, the big ones?
Yeah, is that what they are?
No, that's like probably a. I would call that a daddy long legs.
So yeah, that's what my friends are calling. Like in where I wrestle up in North London, they literally have these things that come inside, and they're just like big spider mosquito-looking things if they were like enlarged. And they're called daddy long legs. And like in Australia, we have a spider called a daddy long legs, but all it does is just sit in the corner of the shower, and it just doesn't move. And it just sits there. And then
how big is it? Is it like one of those gross Australian spiders?
No, it's like, I mean, it's very, very thin. Like, it's very thin. It's not like big or hairy or whatever like that. But it doesn't really bite you or anything like that. It just sort of hangs out, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, how you doing? Like it's like it's basically like a dot, and then like just like big legs that come out from it, but they're all very thin. It's like a pencil drawing of a spider in a way.
Yeah, that sounds like an okay Australian spider. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I don't think I had any severe wildlife experiences when I was there this year. But a couple.
They're quite rare, really. Like it's so over exaggerated over here.
I don't know. I stayed in Canberra one time, and there was a white tail on the wall next to the bed. White tip, white tail. And I was like, oh, that's not that big. Maybe I can like put that in a glass and get it out of here. And then chickened out, and I went to tell the people I was staying with, and she saw it, and she like put her hand on my shoulder, and she was like, Laurie, you can't sleep in here tonight. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What is that?
Yeah, it's like the tiniest thing. It's like, no, you could die straight away. Like it's such a rare thing, but they pop up. They?
Yeah, the small ones are apparently like the more dangerous ones.
Yeah, like the redback that just hangs out in like the shed or something like that. If you come across that, I mean, like it's like only very, very small. But then when you see it, you're like, oh, there's that spider that could just kill me if it decided it wanted to. But,
yeah, awful. Yeah. But I think it's cured my arachnophobia in this country. Because any spider I see here, I'm like, and what? What are you gonna do? Kill me? I don't think so.
It's so crazy.
Like hidden in my luggage and just is an Australian spider.
That would be crazy if it's like a redback just like jumped in your suitcase and just came over here and just like started to somehow like cross the spot. That's a dangerous thought. That is.
It is. It's like have you heard about the bed bugs in Paris?
No, I haven't. No, I couldn't.
Apparently, it's like this. Yeah, apparently it's this huge epidemic on all the like public transport.
Oh my goodness!
There's bed bugs everywhere, and now they're saying like, oh, people coming over on the Eurostar and etc. There's bed bugs everywhere. It's
my goodness!
You know, they're trying to freak everyone out about bed bugs now.
Bed bugs have literally left the bed to just jump on public transport. So
yeah, and there's all these pictures. You know that like the public transport, like they make that kind of jazzy print on all the seats and stuff.
Yeah,
it's all just pictures of like jazzy seats with like these gross little bugs on.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's so crazy. My goodness, it's such a crazy world that honestly we live in. But like, oh man, there was so much that we just went over there that I'd love to go back to. And like, I should have really written some of it down, but it just like it went in, but just like there was more to go from it. But even so, maybe we'll recapture it earlier. But like, I mean, I'd love to just ask you, especially concerning music and stuff, because obviously you went to university and studied that kind of thing. Did you study music, or was music something that you kind of did a bit later on, or was it something that you just always sort of wanted to do?
Yeah, well, I think I'd always done art. That was my big thing. I really like painting, and I always thought that would be kind of the path I went down. And then when it got to kind of time to make your big decision about your life with uni, I kind of thought, hey, I can keep doing art whenever. But the thing I find challenging and maybe more interesting is music. And I'm like particularly interested in like kind of production and the kind of music tech side of things.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I did a course that was pretty much that and a bit of performance. And then kind of through that, yeah, I thought like, oh, I want to be an engineer, or I want to be in the dingy basements, like all the universities you go to. When you go and look at music tech courses, it's always like, put them in the basement, down, where all the air conditioning pipes are and shit.
Yeah.
And then actually through doing more performance, I thought, oh, actually, this is what I want to do. But it's put me in really good stead to kind of know the technical side as well.
Right. Wow. That's really cool. Yeah. Wow. That's so brilliant. Yeah. I did like obviously some band stuff when I was much younger. I still do band stuff now. But a lot of my friends did like music degrees and that kind of thing. It would like our practice rooms are always downstairs. Like you just go downstairs.
Yeah.
And like the university would be like underneath everybody as you like go into like the practice room. And some were better
also
than others.
the halls were the same. For the first year I lived in uni halls, and they literally were like, put all the music students together, put all the loud ones together. So in my flat there was like across the way that there was like a flute player, and up the hall there was like a kind of proggy guitar player, and like we were so loud and annoying. Yeah. But they were like, make them loud and annoying together.
Right.
Don't let them annoy the law students or, anyone else.
No, they really just concentrate. They have like, another 6 years to go until they can leave. So,
oh, God, poor things. Yeah, they need the space.
I know, so it's so crazy. I mean, like, it's such a tangent, but like, I know, like, I've just come across so many people who have done law, and then when they finish it, that it's like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And I feel like there's just such there's so much law you have to learn and to do that when it comes time to actually go out and do it, you're just kind of like, man, I'm so sick of this. I'll do something else.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Like, especially because, like, obviously there's heaps of like your tuition fees and all that kind of stuff, but just so much time and work goes into that. Like, I couldn't even imagine trying to be a law student. But kudos to them for being brave enough and intelligent enough to take, like, that path down that way. But even so, like, what was your kind of your instrument of choice when you were sort of learning like music and that sort of thing? What's the one that you sort of go to?
So I was like one of those kids that got forced to play piano, and
okay.
I didn't love it at all. I always wanted to quit and play the flute instead.
That's quite a transition.
Yeah, but I'm glad I didn't, because I think Lizzo's got that covered. There didn't need to be another flute player.
Yeah.
in the kind of popular music sphere. But I kind of, as I was learning and doing all the grades and stuff and just really just not connecting with any of this kind of classical music, I then discovered Muse and changed my life. I suddenly like had all these amazing rock songs that had pianos in that I was like, I can sit and learn this. Great. Yeah. And it just, full 180, just suddenly loved playing it and couldn't stop finding songs to listen to and just learn by ear.
Wow, that's so cool. I'm like so basic in piano myself, so I'm nowhere near as classically trained as you are. But even so, it's such a good way to kind of learn to sort of get into music and all that sort of thing. I also read somewhere that like a critic or whatever said that your music is like, it sounds slightly like Tim Minchin-y inspired. Are you a fan of him?
Yeah, massive.
Good, me too.
Yeah. Although I went to see him maybe like about 2 years ago now. Yeah. And the show started with him sat at a piano doing, the old school Tim Minchin thing. Yeah. And then maybe like 3 songs in, the like kabuki curtain behind him fell, and there was a whole band.
Yeah.
And everyone else in the audience was like, woohoo! And I feel like I was the only one who was just like, oh.
Yeah. That was back, I think, too. That was his back tour, because I saw that in Adelaide, and the same thing happened. Cool. And I was really, because he was doing Rock and Roll Nerd, and it literally got to like
all of the old ones, and
it got to like this almost like the middle part before it goes into like the sort of really heavy piano kind of part, and then the curtain drops and the whole band appeared. I had the same sort of thing. I was like, oh man, because like, it was really good, but then once they appear, then you realize that they're not going to go away.
Yeah.
And then it's
And
like, oh no.
I like, it was my first time seeing him. And, you know, I like, my
really?
ideal would have been seeing him, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago when he was just a guy with a piano. Like that was the thing for me that I really love about what he did.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really interesting, but everyone else being like, woohoo. And like, oh, okay, just strap in for this thing now, then fine.
Yeah. I was incredibly lucky to be able to see him like maybe a month or two ago, because he came and did a show at the Lyric Theatre. I think, no, what was it? It's in Piccadilly Circus. I don't think it was Lyric Theatre, but it's something along those lines. But he literally just came in and did a show by himself. It was just like an audience with Tim Minchin, and it was literally just him with his piano playing to the crowd, no phones, nothing like that. And it was just the most best environment, so wholesome and relaxing. It was like this is the Tim Minchin I've always loved to see.
Amazing.
But yeah, I love how he influences you as much as he influences me. That's so cool that we've got that sort of same kind of thing going on. I'd love to sort of press on from that into the kind of the touring sphere, because as we spoke about earlier, like, you know, you've been all over the place, including Australia. What shows sort of took you there? Were they shows that you made or shows that you kind of jumped on? Like, how have you been able to sort of have that nomadic kind of experience in life and touring?
So I guess like from doing Edinburgh Fringe, so I've been doing Edinburgh Fringe forever, like with my roots to Scotland.
Wonderful.
I've been going to Edinburgh Fringe since I was a kid. Sneaking into cabaret shows underage, 100% why I do what I do now. And then kind of once you're in the fringe circuit, then you start kind of becoming aware of all of the other fringes around the place. So actually the first time I went to do Adelaide Fringe, which I think off the top of my head was probably, I think it was 2018.
Right, okay.
I had booked to go and do my own show, which is called Bad Luck Cabaret, which is like a kind of variety show that I host. And then I was just kind of looking on all the forums, and someone was looking for a keyboard player for their show. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to be there anyway. I'm going to be spending loads of money to be there.
Yes.
I might as well be doing some other shows that I can get paid for whilst I'm out there. So that was Anya Anastasia, who is actually another person that you should probably have a chat with.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, I'll put the name down. Awesome.
And that's actually how I know Rachel. So we did.
Oh, wonderful.
2 years. Hold on. What did we do? Yeah, we did 2 years in a row. She did a show called Rogue Romantic, and it was like an all-girl kind of cabaret band, and she's the kind of host and singer, lead character.
Right.
And then so the second year we did it, the year after, Rachel came in as the drummer, and that's how we became friends. Yeah.
Wow, that's such a cool story. I love that. Yeah, no, I'd absolutely love to do that. I mean, I'm from Adelaide, firstly, which is awesome. I would love to know if you can remember the venues that you played when you went there, because I would know what they are, but I don't know if you could remember them.
The first season we did Rogue Romantic was at RCC, Royal Croquet Club.
Oh, yeah, cool.
When it was on Pinky Flat.
Right, okay, yep, no, I know that is. Yep.
And then my show was at Gluttony. I always do my shows at Gluttony.
Yep, sweet, good spot.
And like I remember really distinctly, like, because her show was on earlier than mine. So, and I think my show was just like Friday, Saturdays. So every Friday and Saturday, I had to do this kind of crazy run between Pinky Flat and Rymel Park, which is probably about like at least a 20-minute walk. And on the way, I'd like stop at the cash machine on Rundle Street to get all my money out to pay the performers for my show. Yeah. And it was just like this like weird like little ritual I had every weekend. I was like, right, okay, time to go. Bye everyone. See you later. Like running through the crowds. Because as well, you know, Adelaide on a weekend during Fringe. And I think back then there was all the other stuff, you know, like the what's it called, Clipsal and all that stuff.
Yeah, everything was on at this. Yeah, classic Adelaide just does everything at the same time. It's like, it's so weird. Like in Australia, it prides itself on being like the festival city, but it's like, well, actually you're this festival city that runs for 3 months, from like January to March, and then after that nothing happens really. I mean, like things happen, but like not enough for everyone to be like, yeah, we're all going to go to this thing. That it's like, yeah, let's have like, you know, the Clipsal or the Superloop in February.
Yes,
And we'll also have the Fringe, which is the worst time to have it because you've got V8 supercars driving around, making so much noise.
Whilst
so
everyone's like in a tent.
Good perform. I know. I don't know whoever came up with that. I mean, now they've moved it to December. From what I know, they've moved it to December. So it's so much better now. But then and then you also had the start of the football season as well. That kind of coincided with the last week or so of the Fringe too. So yeah, it was just like absolutely crazy. But it's kind of cool because I mean, it is like the couple of months where like everyone from Adelaide will actually go out and you know, invest in the economy and invest in the shows and go see people perform. So it's you know, it gives them a chance to actually go out and be a bit more sociable than what they would usually be.
Yeah, it's funny though. Yeah. Like I always think because I've never been to Adelaide outside of the Fringe.
Right.
So I'm like I say to people I've been to Adelaide. I probably spent, I think I've been there 4 times. So I've spent 4 months of my life in Adelaide, but not in Adelaide as people normally know it, you know? And I think people have the same experience for Edinburgh Fringe as well. They kind of think, they come to Edinburgh Fringe and they kind of think that it's like that all year. It really isn't.
No, it's not.
It's like this kind of weird, made up pretend place that you've got in your brain that you're like, I know that place. And you're like, actually, I have no idea about that place.
I have that made up thing in my brain because I haven't been there yet. So for me, it's it's like this. Oh my god, Edinburgh Fringe is this marvelous place where every comedian that I've ever loved has performed there and all that kind of stuff. So I need to go there to see that happen, but then also just go to Edinburgh for the sake of seeing Edinburgh. But then you know, is it the same at the same time as it is during the Fringe? And obviously the answer that you just gave is no, it's quite different.
So different. I always think about there's always and I don't know how, but there's always unsuspecting tourists who are there in August in the middle of the Fringe who have no idea. You see kind of, I don't know, coach loads of people from Japan. And they clearly just are like, what the hell's going on here? They've booked a trip and not kind of been told that, by the way, there's this whole thing going on in Edinburgh that happens at this one time of year. And I wonder if those people just do think Edinburgh is like that all the time because they just have no idea. And I always see them and I'm like, well, you shouldn't be here anyway because we all need the accommodation. Come back.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
All the tourists stealing the accommodation from the artists who actually need to actually stay in before for you guys. So please, you guys, the tourists should be the ones who are roughing, not the artists. Come on, you guys should be the VIPs right here. But it's just sadly never the case, unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah, Fringe is pretty much the opposite of that. It's hardcore. But also I found for myself it's exactly how I learnt everything I do and who I am, and you know that you really cut your teeth when you do Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I've heard stories from as I said, comedians who I've grown up with and followed and whatever of all that kind of stuff. But it's so awesome to yeah, exactly. It's just the road that you've taken. I think it's a road that you sort of need to take if you want to sort of put yourself in a really big place to sort of get more eyes on you. So to everyone who kind of does it, it's it's a massive thing. I guess then in comparison, when you went to Melbourne, it's the middle of you've got Edinburgh over here, you got Adelaide over here, and I guess Melbourne would be somewhere in the middle between those two places. Yeah,
it's the thing I maybe found when I first went to Adelaide was so many people were like, oh my God, you've done Edinburgh Fringe, we want to do that. And I would just look at them and be like, you're not ready. You can't be prepared for Edinburgh. No. And I feel like I'm lucky that I started with the hard one.
Yeah.
And then everything else has felt, Adelaide, it's not as expensive. The people are nicer and they want to hear about your show. It's good weather. You can go to the beach. None of that stuff happens in Edinburgh. Whereas if you start off having those things and then you go to Edinburgh, you're like, where's the beach? Why are the people horrible? Why is the weather bad all the time?
Yeah. But no, I mean, I've never had a bad experience in Melbourne since I've, done my touring. If I've done my touring in Melbourne or whatever, it's awesome time. So I would expect
I love Melbourne,
I expect the Fringe there would be just as good as what you expect it to be elsewhere.
Yeah, I think so. Melbourne Fringe is, I think maybe September, October. So it's never I've never done it because I go out for Adelaide Fringe but then I do Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Oh yeah, of course, sure.
April. But yeah, also great festival. I love Melbourne so much. Honestly, if I could move there, I would.
Yeah, that's the backup plan for me. If I would love to move to Melbourne one day as well. It's like it reminds me like a little bit of London, but like much smaller, but still in that same kind of big city kind of vibe, I think, which is awesome.
It's of all the cities I've been to in Australia, it's definitely the most kind of, I don't know, European feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Did you then was there kind of an idea or sort of a want to record an album while you were sort of doing all these different shows and cabaret bits and pieces? Like what sort of led you to wanting to record like your first album?
Yeah. So actually my first album was like half of it was like part of my dissertation project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, instead of having a full dissertation, they were like, kind of make an album. So I did like maybe 4 songs and a cover. Gold Star, if you can guess who the cover was, who wrote the song.
Oh my god! Who wrote the song and what the cover name? What was called?
No. I mean, just like who the band was, who I covered.
Oh right. I would say Muse.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm so predictable.
I think band gave it away because I was gonna say Tim Minchin, but I was like band, no, Muse. It has to be Muse.
Yeah.
What song was it?
So kind of Sunburn.
Oh, okay, cool, nice, awesome.
So some piano and then a band in, and then from that kind of turned once I got out of uni, kind of turned that into an actual album, and then I actually think now. So I've just released Angst music, and I only realized. So I did an album launch about a month ago, and I had I just had my merch bag with me, and I just laid everything out on the table, and I looked, and I think it's like I've got 6 albums. I'm pretty sure there were like 6 out on the table, and I was like, oh, how did this happen? Okay. I guess the kind of the being able to record. I record everything myself. I never like book studio time or anything like that.
Do you really? You put it all yourself?
Yeah. So I think having that skill, and then just throughout my life, just when I'm doing, I'll either think like, oh, I'm writing this show, I'll write some new songs for it, and then I'll put them on the album, and that kind of works quite well, kind of hand in hand.
That must be so such a great skill to have, to be able to like record your own music, record your own album. Like the costs on recording and studio time just out the window. But
though, even recording this album was so much money, and I was like, looking at it, I was like, I've still not paid for any studio time. That's all like mixing, mastering, and PR. And like, getting stuff printed. I was like, oh my god, it could have been even more expensive. It
completely boggles the mind, and it really throws you when you just think about how much goes into all of that kind of stuff. That's why, I mean, obviously so many albums for bands, they obviously split money between them so they can then do more stuff. And with like a lot of obviously solo artists and stuff, most of the time they're hoping for a record to sign so that the record can pay for like recording time or studio time or whatever, so you can then do more with it. But it's such a hard road for solo artists. I mean, hell, I've been through this the most. Like I had a whole EP, I still have a whole EP that is waiting for my vocals to be recorded, but I just can't afford to go in the studio and do it all the time. It's so expensive, especially in London too. Like I didn't think it was going to be so bad, but it's all about learning, I think. So that's something that I learned
for sure. Just like having those skills is really, really useful. I see other people who don't know how to record things, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't imagine. Because I think also maybe the way I write is very based on the production as well. I mostly write what I'm doing kind of in it, like on the computer in the box. So even like when I've got a draft, it's at least some way to being a recording, whereas some people sit down and still write notes on a bit of paper, or record on like a little 8-track or something. But I always think my process already kind of starts off in the right kind of place, so then it's fairly easy to follow through, I guess.
It goes in the right direction. I'd love to know what your sort of like your ideas and your themes were behind the music on Angst music, because there's obviously so many different songs with so many different I feel like so many different themes and different titles and stuff like that. Like, was it just like a whole lot of stuff compiled into different songs? Like, take me through that.
I've got a copy here just so I can so I can look at the track listing.
Buy it now, everybody. Buy it now.
So a couple of them I've been performing live for a while, and they've been part of my like cabaret shows that I've been doing. So Body Mod in particular and Space Junk, I've been playing them live for a couple of years anyway.
Yeah.
And just like had never got around to recording them. And then kind of the rest. Oh, I don't know. It's a mix. I think everything I write is like, it's a weird mix of like either a few of them have been like really long works in progresses. So like Work When You're Dead is based on another song that I used to do live again called Amoeba. Okay. And I was doing it live and I was always like, it's something about this is not quite right. And then when I decided to make the album, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to kind of rework Amoeba. I think, who is it? Someone has a really great quote that is about like plagiarize yourself.
All right.
And I really like that because it is, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I've already had that idea. People, my fans will know and they'll catch me out for having previously done this. And actually, no one cares. And if you had the idea once, you can rework the idea again. And I really, I like that. So
it's a really good way of looking around it. Really good way of looking at it. I mean, I fall into those traps all the time as well. It's like, you know, why should I write a song about, you know, being sad or being angry? I'm sure there's 100 million songs of them out there. I'm like, yeah, but it's a very common occurrence for a lot of people. So people will keep listening to songs like that. If you just put your own little spin and twinkle on it, then that's what makes it purely yours.
Exactly. And I think that's, for me as well, like with the whole Tim Minchin thing and just kind of musical comedy and cabaret in general, I suddenly found like, you can have more of a voice. Whereas I think like I always grew up thinking like pop music songs are about love. Yeah. They're all about love. They're not about anything else. And like, I can't write a whole album of songs about love. Like,
no,
what?
I can't even write a song about love. It's hard.
No, yeah. So having this whole new world open up, being like, oh, I can literally write a song about anything. And I can, I don't know, try and make it funny or try and make it political or, you know, whatever it is. Exactly what you're saying about how it then can become so unique and different. Yeah, I think I definitely learned that from being within Fringe. And I think people, when they hear my music from the music side, you know, people in the music industry, they hear what I'm doing and they're like, oh, we didn't know it was possible. Whereas like from where I'm from in cabaret and Fringe, it's so obvious and possible. It's really weird.
Yeah. And I love that you've sort of just like, you know, you've just decided to go and do this, like write an album and sort of start this kind of like musical journey of your own, coming out of obviously cabaret and Fringe and that kind of stuff. And the thing that I really like about it is that, I mean, this is like your first sort of big thing that you put out, but everything that you have put out just looks very professional and it looks very like, it looks very good, like the merchandise, the album itself, all the rest of it, like, because there's so many bands and pop artists that'll put things out and it's just like, you know, very dingy, very amateur, and you can kind of tell straight away, and you're just like, I mean, the music might be really, really good as well.
Yeah.
But it's just like their presentation is just really, really down. And I really must like, you know, admire you for doing yours in such a good way and making it so like presentable.
I mean, again, that's all me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like, I didn't pay anyone to make that album art. That was all just me. Literally the Angst music thing. That was me on like, whatever it's called. Like literally like a version of paint, like coloring in the sticks. Like honestly, it's just
far out.
Ridiculous.
I spent so much money on typography. I should start doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And like, again, I guess from my enjoyment of doing art, I kind of get lots of things out of it. I kind of get the like, I'm doing art time, but also this is going to become something that is part of a project that I can monetize or, you know, is going to support what I'm doing musically. So I think that, it works quite nicely hand in hand. But yeah, again, I'm like, I can't even imagine. And I don't think I'd even know where to begin about like trying to find someone to make album art for me. Like, no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I have a few people who I know, obviously from back home and stuff, that I go to for certain things or just for certain kind of moods because they specialize in certain things. But yeah, like, and then sometimes it's people that like, you know, they're just so popular with what they do, so just everyone goes there. Like, for example, when I was doing band t-shirts, there was a certain someone who's in America who did shirts for just like this band that I really loved, and they're like they're like a very, very popular band now. But it was kind of like, I love their shirts. I want my shirts to be just like those. Who does their shirts? And through like some sleuthing and social media investigation reporting, I found out who it was. And then I go to her to do my designs for my band. And it's such a cool way of going about it. But then again, if you can just sort of like create your own artwork and do it all yourself with, maybe just, the time rather than spending the money for it and having it look really good, that's like a perfect alternative in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that though, because I feel like every time I do something, I'm like, does this look a bit shit in DIY? I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. But I think that, I think more and more these days, all of us creatives are having to find ways to kind of do so many jobs all at the same time. That's just kind of the nature of it, isn't it? So
especially with social media, because you've got that whole aspect as well to like, promote stuff. You got to make, reels for this, and then you've got to do ads for that, and then you've got to like, if you want music videos done, then you've got to find someone to do music videos, and then you've got to upload them on YouTube at the right time, otherwise not getting any views and like all that kind of stuff. Do you do your own music videos as well? Like, do you have like the camera too? Or like
no, I've got one of my close friends who plays guitar on this. Actually, his name's David Ryder Prangley, and actually he took the photos. He took these photos. He helps me film music videos, but then I always edit them because I'm so picky. Like I think he got one of our mutual friends, a guy called Drew, who plays in a great band called Diso Fluid. Drew edited a video for me once, and I just like he did an amazing job. But I think I don't know, when it's you, I just felt like he'd picked all of the like kind of ugliest videos of me. I just like I had to be like, I'm so sorry, Drew, but I'm just gonna re-edit this myself. And again, it like, I don't know, sometimes being a solo artist, you're such a control freak.
You're so used to like doing everything yourself, especially with the music and stuff. It's really hard to not want something you're like right, like the way that you kind of want it. It's hard to sort of take a step back in that respect sometimes, but like it's really good to learn when you do need to sort of take a step back and be like, oh, this looks what's best. But when it comes to editing videos, I am also very much in a similar spot. I remember my first band, that was like an indie pop rock band that I played bass for. We had this mad tangent where we did like 3 music videos in a year, which was great, with the same videographer. But every time he gave us like the first cut of our first video, and I was just like, oh, nah. No, I've got to be there with you. Sorry, and I'm like the bass player. I'm like the bass player of the band, not even the singer. And I'm like, nah, I gotta put my hat in the ring here and be like, this needs to be a bit different. That needs to go here and whatever. But it's so weird to be in that sort of predicament. But either way, I'd love to like finish off just by asking you, like, have you been to any really awesome shows recently? Seen any bands that you really admire, or been in like, have you yourself played a show like live that you just remember being just one of the best ones that you've played?
Fun. So much stuff. Like since being back in London, I've just been going to loads of stuff. It's been really great. So much fun. I saw, I'm gonna have to remember what they were called. So talking of David Ryder Prangley, he is a amazing singer, songwriter, guitarist as well, and he was supporting a band at the Dublin Castle. I want to call them the Witching Tale, I think. The Witching Tale. And it was maybe their like second gig and an album launch, but they're 2 musicians who have done lots of other things in their life and play in lots of other bands. So like really, when you say it's like their second gig, you think that it's like really fresh, but it's they're not. They know what they're doing.
They've got that experience.
Yeah, and it was kind of exactly how it sounds, the Witching Tale. So like very dreamy, witchy, and they had just so many instruments on stage. She was singing and playing all kinds of like flutes and violins and crazy instruments, and then the guy had like all these synthesizers and a big like modular thing going on.
Wow. Okay.
And it was like, really dreamy and witchy, and then he'd do something with the synth and it would kind of bring in this big like wah wah wah, and it was just like every time anything happened I was just stood there like, wow, that was great. And then like I don't know, it was just like I didn't know anything about them. I had no idea what I was expecting, and it was just so kind of surreal and weird and dreamy, but then also like, I mean, I'm really big into synths, so as soon as anyone's got a synth, I'm like, I love it. So right, that was really cool.
That's so cool. That's wonderful. Well, Laurie, this has been like such an awesome conversation to have with you. Honestly, I've had so many like of these podcasts now that I've had with people, and this has been one of the easiest ones for me because it's just been so back and forth. I've hardly had to look at my notes at all. Like honestly, it's been really great. Obviously, anyone who's listening to the podcast, buy or listen to Laurie's new album, Angst Music, because it's an absolute banger. It's right there, right in front of her face.
Can't help it.
No, and again, it was so wonderful to meet you, and I do wish you all the best in your musical ventures.
Thank you. We'll have to go to a gig together, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
We're both in London. Let's find something to go to.
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.